Hello everyone, welcome back. And in this video, I want to talk more about writing our own programs. So let me just first go ahead and save a file, and I'm going to name this, let's say, variables.c, because that's what we're going to talk about. But before we do that, I just want to mention a few other things. But let me just do this first. Um, so I've done this much. This is again some code that you'll have to accept for a while. So what I wanted to mention here is I can actually just write some something that I want with a double slash. And what the double slash means is that this thing right here is a comment, and what a comment means is that this is not actually meant for the compiler at all. So the compiler is just going to totally ignore comments, and this is just for users. So this statement is just for users. So let's say I happen to write a really big program, and later someone starts reading it. So he may at some points need help as to why I've written some statements, why I've done some things. So I can actually just mention those things using a comment, and it's actually a very good practice to add comments. And the thing that I've written right here is actually a single line comment, which means that whatever I write here is no longer a comment, which I think is evident from the color of the text that Sublime Text is giving me. So I can actually also have a multi-line comment, which is also known as a block comment, and it starts with a slash and a star. And I can write something here. This is a block or multi-line comment. This line is a comment too, and let's just end our block comment here. So this is what a block comment means. It just goes on till I write a star and a slash. So this is something that I wanted to mention. And now let's get to talking about variables. So what variables mean is it's very similar to doing the same thing in math. We actually do things like say x equals 5, and then we can do things with this. We can say x equals x into 2, or we can just do something like x equals a plus b if we have a and b as variables. So actually that's not such a good thing, because I just said that I wanted x equals 5. But whatever, what this statement right here means is that x is the name of our variable and 5 is the value stored in it. And what happens inside the system is that a memory location is taken, which is free, uh, and free as in not occupied, and we just mark that memory location, give it a name x, and store the value 5 inside of it. So that's what's happening. But in C, what happens is we need to define what type x is, what type of a variable it is, and the different types that we have. The first one is int. So int just stands for integer. It means that x is an integer. It's never going to take decimal point values. But if we want x to take decimal point values, we can use something like float, which stands for floating point numbers. And these are basically just decimal numbers with a certain precision. And another way to use decimal point numbers is to use the word double. And the basic difference between a double and a float is just the precision. Double actually occupies twice as much space in memory as a float. So these are the few data types that we can have, and I'm just going to make this one an int right here. And another data type that I have is a character, and I define a character by using the word char, and I can do a char c equals something like, let's say, capital A. So these are different variables that I have, and these x and c are not actually great variable names. We should actually give better names to these variables, but since I'm not actually writing a program that does anything useful, I'm not giving them names. But remember to give them better names than this. And there are a few rules in naming variables that I want to talk about. But first, let's just compile this program. Let's just do gcc variables.c. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to add the dash o flag every time, but for the start, let's say I do add it so that you get into a habit of actually doing this. Let's just hit enter, and as you can see, this compiles just fine, and I can actually even run this, but it won't really do anything because I don't have any print statement or anything here. So I just wanted to show you that this actually compiles fine. And now let's talk about some naming rules that we have for variables. So the first rule that you need to remember is that variable names can actually contain um, alphabets, both upper and lower case. They can contain underscores and they can contain numbers. So I can actually have an int h123 underscore b uh, bt, let's say, and I can have this equal to I can actually not even set this to anything right now, but this is a valid variable name right here. um, so it can actually have numbers but and an underscore as well, but one thing to remember is that it cannot start with a number. So let's just try doing 1h23, and let's actually try compiling this. um, so I've got an error here, um, and the basic reason for that is that I started a variable name with a number. So if I just get rid of this and try compiling it again, I don't get any error here. So that's one rule. Another rule is that these variable names cannot be the same as these right here. So these right here are called keywords. So int is a keyword, return right here is a keyword, and there's a total of 32 keywords in C, and we can't use any of those for our variable names because these words already have meanings defined in C, so we can't name our variables with those names. So that done, let's just see how to print these variables. And the way to do this is let's just first type a simple string, value of x is, and let's just give a space here, and wherever you want to print the value of an integer, you need to use %d. And as you can see, it already came in a different color here. So, and here I just need to write which variable I want, which variable's value I want printed instead of this %d. So let's just go ahead and compile this. Let me just clear this first, and let's compile this. And if I run this now, it actually prints value of x is 5. So that's how we print integers. And the way to print characters is basically just using a %c there, value of C is %C, and here I just need to write C. And let's just go ahead and compile this again, and let's run it again, and it just printed value of X is 5, value of C is A. So it actually printed this fine, but I would rather this be in a new line. So the way to add a new line here is I need to use something called an escape sequence, and escape sequences always start with a backslash. So the escape sequence for a new line is \n. That's what I need to add here. So let's just save this and try it again. And as you can see, it comes in a very clean way in two different lines. And obviously I could have added this \n at the beginning of this right here. But that's just a personal choice where you choose to do it. So I think that's enough for this video. I'll see you in the next one.